Hello there fellow followers of darkness, my name is Shadow Warrior, and welcome to me looking at complaints to Friday the 13th and giving my take on them and how I feel about these complaints. And the reason I'm doing something like this is, one, the videos on my channel are few and far between. I don't upload much and I just kind of felt like doing something like this. And the second reason is that I see a lot of these complaints, and some of them I just see as a very silly complaint, or I see as a complaint that can easily be, can't think of the word really, but as a complaint that can easily be pushed aside, one that doesn't have to have loads of attention paved into it, if you understand what I'm saying. So throughout this video I'm going to be discussing a good few complaints that I've seen people complain about within Friday the 13th, give my take on them, and at the same time I'm hoping that I can somehow get through to you, so to speak, and have you understand my way of thinking. If not, oh well, I had fun making this video. So without further ado, here we are with my view on complaints about Friday the 13th, the game. So the first complaint I'd like to bring up is the complaint that Savini Jason should be available to everyone, or Savini Jason should be brought out for free next Halloween, or Savini Jason should be released for free with the next map, or Savini Jason should be released because our servers were shit yesterday, or Savini Jason should be released because our servers are shit outright, or Savini Jason should be released because I'm not having fun, or Savini Jason should be released, yada yada yada, you get my point. Now the thing with Savini Jason is that, as many people know, Savini Jason was a Jason that was released exclusively for people who backed the game back when it was not released. And seeing Savini Jason in a lobby is something special. It's not something you'll get to see every day or every match. And that's the great thing about Savini Jason, is that he is so rare. He's such a rare Jason that you feel pretty good when you finally find a Jason that is Savini Jason, and you're trying to survive against him, because then you'll know you're surviving against Savini Jason, the rarest of the Jasons. But the thing that people don't seem to be understanding is that this is an exclusive Jason. It's not a Jason that's out there for everyone. The one differentiation with this is that Savini Jason was released, I believe, for free on the Xbox store, and for about £2 I think on the PlayStation store for a short time. Now this wasn't Friday 13th's team. The Friday 13th team, it wasn't their intention to do this. This was Sony and Microsoft themselves putting the skin out, and as soon as it was out, they tried their best to take it down as soon as they could. Now they did manage to take it down, so it is now impossible to purchase it. But the other thing as well is that I believe on Xbox, anyone who downloaded the skin, or the Jason as it was, they managed to rip, or not rip, but they managed to take all them Jasons off of those people. Which meant that all of these people who had downloaded the skin and not been a backer didn't have Savini Jason. But then there was a difference on the PlayStation, in which they couldn't get it back, because we all know how they are, how Sony is with refunds. They aren't going to be the type of people to refund a £2 thing. So everyone on PlayStation who did buy it got to keep Savini Jason. And of course this leads to a lot of people's main point is that, oh, it was released once, they should release it again for a short amount of time and whatnot. But what people need to understand is that Savini Jason is exclusive, end of point. He was not meant to be released, he accidentally got released. And the reason this is, the first complaint I'm bringing up is because it's one of those small complaints. It's a complaint that not everyone has, but it's one of those complaints that you don't really want to constantly be hearing about when you're trying to find an answer as to why Jason is now flying through the sky, Anyway, on to the next point. So the next complaint I want to bring up is the complaint that Jason is too overpowered, or that Jason is too hard to beat and is too hard to be a counselor and escape Jason. And the reason I want to bring up this point is because it's another one that I see a lot of, that people are having too much difficulty in going against Jason, so they beg and plead for him to be nerfed. Now, one of the things that I'd just first like to ask is, how can you nerf someone like Jason? He isn't exactly the person you can nerf. The unstoppable moving man who can just slice people in half with ease. It's not exactly the easiest thing to find a way to nerf him and keep him lore friendly. Now, one of his things that was fixed was the shift grab, which involved him using shift and pressing L2 in order to do a grab as he was coming out of shift, because rather than having to hold R1 and press square to come out of shift, he just pressed L2 and he'd come out of shift instantly and do grab at the same time. Now, they did fix this, so that now it's impossible for you to press L2 and come out of a shift and do a grab all at once. Instead, you have to hold R1, press square, come out of shift, and then press L2. And one of the things here is that kind of programming means that Jason is now a lot more easier to deal with when he's shifting, because you could be running straight down a road and Jason can be shifting. And if it was the previous version in which you could just press L2, you'd probably be dead if you were running just straight ahead. But now you can still be running straight ahead and you have a higher chance of surviving, since he can't just grab, he has to come out of shift, preferably in front of you, and then go for a grab. Now, this isn't the only thing that people complain makes him too overpowered. The other thing is his grab in general, that it's too hard to get out of his grab, and that the one hit kills, grab kills, are too powerful. Now, I'd like to bring up that there are, at this moment in time, 4 ways to get out of a grab. Possibly 3, because I don't know if the 4th way still works. The first way is mashing the X button. If you mash the X button, then you have, if you have the lowest composure, which I believe is Tiffany, then you're going to be taking about 10 seconds of button mashing to be able to get out. Now, that length of time, it gives Jason enough time to walk you a distance away and do an environmental kill on you. Whereas if you're someone like Jenny, who has 10 composure, you can break out fairly quickly, making Jason have to think quick if he wants to do a grab kill. So this thing makes it so that as Jason is coming in and doing this grab kill, you have this option as kind of your last resort option if all else fails, to just mash the X button. Now, if you're mashing this X button and you fail, you're dead, you know, so be it. But if you're mashing the X button and you manage to, you know, get out of his grasp, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. You've managed to break out without a pocket knife, which is the second point. The second way you can get out is with the use of a pocket knife, one of the rarer items in the game, and one that I haven't seen lots of in every game. I typically find 1, maybe 2 if I'm lucky pocket knives, but there are some people who are able to find 3. Now, when you have 3 pocket knives, you do feel like a god. You feel like you're able to take on Jason, you feel like you're able to survive because he can't do a pickup kill. But then when a Jason learns that you have, you know, more than 1 pocket knife, they're less likely to go for a 3rd grab and more just to start hacking at you with their weapon. So having the 3 pocket knives, it doesn't mean that you're going to survive, because for all you know, Jason could kill you with throwing knives or kill you with traps, you know? So other than this, as you saw on screen just then, there is a 3rd way, which is getting saved by someone else. So if Jason has you in a grab, you can either be hit, or Jason can be hit with a melee weapon, or shot with a projectile, such as the flare or the shotgun, and he will drop you. That is, you know, after he's done the full pickup animation. And they've got to be pretty quick, because Jason could be mashing that square button and being ready to just instantly kill you as soon as he's picked you up. But the thing with this as well is that this is kind of a big reason as to why you should stick with someone else. Never go off alone in Friday the 13th, because if you do, then you're going to have one of those moments where you're going to be trapped in a single room with Mr. Voorhees, and you're going to have no one to save you, you know? You're going to be trapped in there, and your only method of escape is mashing the X button. So, you know, you've now got these 3 options as to how to escape Jason's grab. You've got mashing the X button, you've got using a pocket knife, and you've got having a fellow counselor help you out. And then it comes to the 4th option. Now, I don't know if this is still in game, and I don't know if it's still a viable solution, but if you're wearing Pamela's sweater, I believe it worked for me once, but I believe if he picks you up, you can activate the sweater and he'll drop you since he's been stunned. Now, I don't know if this is still in game, so don't quote me on it when I say it will for sure work, but it could still possibly be a way for you to get out of Jason's grasp if you're a female counsellor. So right there you have 4 ways to get out of his grasp, and people will still complain that his grab is too overpowered and that it's impossible to get out of his grab. And with those 4 solutions, I believe I've just shown that it can, whilst it is difficult to get out of his grab, it is still a possible solution. And it's not exactly the hardest thing to get out of, but it's still a challenge, so to speak. Jason isn't meant to be an easy character to defeat. Anyway, on to point number 3. So, the third point I'd like to bring up is Jason being too hard to juke. Now this complaint comes, I'm guessing, from people who have tried to jump through windows, and that's been their only form of trying to juke Jason, and they're now complaining that he's too difficult to juke. Now my take on this is that it's not that Jason is hard to juke, it's that just that you don't know how Jason works in this game compared to something like Dead by Daylight. In this game, juking Jason is much more about laying traps for him, using the weapons at your disposal to try and, stun him, like using a baseball bat to stun him, or using a trap to ensnare him, and then locking your doors and going through the windows in order to stop him from catching up to you and killing you. And I'd like to reference my video Jarvis Jukes, because in that video I clearly managed to show how even after 11 to 12 minutes of me just constantly running away from Jason, I was still able to effectively juke him for that amount of time and survive the night. So to the people who are saying that it's too difficult to juke Jason, I think that what they need to do is they need to learn how the game properly works. They need to learn how to properly juke in this game by locking doors, placing traps, and using the weapons and items they have at their disposal in order to help juke Jason, like the pocket knife and the firecrackers, if you see what I'm saying. So there's my take on Jason being too difficult to juke, and with that we will now swiftly move on to the very next 4th point of the video. So the next complaint is going to be a complaint that I probably see the most of, which is going to be the fix your game complaint or the fix your servers complaint. Now, the reason I say it is a complaint that is becoming less and less valid is because the game is becoming much better, and really the only people who are saying fix your game are now trolls. But the reason I bring this up is because I just like to describe all the things that the game and the developers have done in order to become more fixed. So let's go with, say, the pack and act roof glitch. We've all seen it and we've all hated it, or maybe we're one of those people that really enjoyed doing it because we had no life and decided that wasting 20 minutes of everybody's life for, what, 200 XP was more worthwhile than going through the matches and having some fun. You know, average people things. But this glitch was, whilst it was in the game for an amount of time, it has been fixed and it has been patched out. So when people say that they still need to fix their game, this is just one of the things that clearly states that they have fixed their game pretty well. There are other breaks and fixes that they've done, such as the tree going through one of the houses. That was a bug that was fixed. Being able to go underneath the stairs, and I believe pack and act, that's a glitch that was fixed. What other glitches were there? There was the going outside the map glitch, being able to go beyond the borders. I had some kid who knew how to do it, probably learned it from a fucking YouTube video from someone, and he learned how to do this glitch. And so him being the kid he is, thinks that it's a fun thing to do. And let's face facts, it's not fun to go to people and perform these glitches when they're just trying to have a good time, and then you just decide to waste 20 minutes of everyone's time just so you can do this glitch. Another glitch that was fixed, trying to think, since, you know, there weren't too many glitches that were big and prominent as I can think of. There was the getting outside the map, and I can't remember which map it was, but there was one where you could get outside the map and find a second shack, a second one of Jason's shacks. And this was a complaint that was in, and that was fixed as well. There was also the glitch in which you could, I believe it was not Crystal Lake, Higgins Haven, I believe, or maybe it was Packanack, I can't remember. But you could go up the stairs, and if you crouched and uncrouched several times, you'd be able to walk along the banner and go behind a wall and hide there from Jason. Again, another glitch that has been patched out. So when people talk about fixing their game, it's already been fixed pretty well, and the new Jarvis map, there haven't really been too many glitches that have come with it. Now, we'll admit, it isn't the perfect game. There are still some minor glitches. One of them being now, as soon as Jason spawns, he can spawn underneath the map and can't morph anywhere. As soon as he starts moving, he just falls through the map and the match ends. I've had that happen to me. An annoyance, I would admit, but it doesn't happen every game, so it's not game breaking. And another one is a glitch in which Jason becomes unable to do anything but grab. And I believe this happens from someone using firecrackers. If someone uses firecrackers on Jason, and then Jason tries to break a window, I'm not sure how true that is, but that seems to be what happened to me as far as I remember. But he'll be the icon to say break the window by pressing the X button will come up, but you won't actually be able to hit the X button to do it. So, you know, you're kind of left unable to do much until you grab a counselor and kill them like that. That's the only way to break the glitch, unfortunately, and that's something that they need to address. The other complaint is the fix your servers. I know, 2 complaints in one. And fix your servers is a very iffy one, since sometimes the servers can actually be pretty decent. But on days such as Friday the 13th of October 2017, the servers on the PlayStation 4 went AWOL to all hell. They were gone. All the servers, they just didn't work. It was as simple as that. The servers just did not work. So no one was able to connect on Friday the 13th, which, let's face it, it's Friday the 13th. That's the day that people want to play the game. And no one was able to. So of course, that got a lot of people angry. But then, very next day, Saturday the 14th, servers were back up. I was able to play for a good, I'm going to say about 6 hours. And I was still being able to play after that. I wasn't kicked after those 6 hours. I decided to stop playing since it was actually getting pretty late from the amount of time I was playing. It was very fun and very enjoyable. So when people are saying fix your servers, I think the only thing they need to really be taking into account and putting a lot of priority to is putting in dedicated servers, since the host leaving and the match ending is one of the worst things that can happen. And one of my friends always tries to get into a lobby by himself so that he can be the host, and so he doesn't have to run the risk of the host leaving the match and then him being unable to continue the game because the host left the match early because they were killed or because they weren't Jason, you know? So anyway, that's that complaint brought up. Next complaint coming up. Our next complaint is the slasher Jasons. And slasher Jasons are the Jasons that you'll find that won't use grab kills, instead they'll hit you with their weapon in order to kill you. Now a lot of people complain about this and say that this should be removed or something like that. And they say this because probably they have a pocket knife, or they have 2 pocket knives, or maybe even 3, and they don't get the chance to use them, or they don't get the chance to break out Jason's grasp because Jason slashes them down. Now I can understand why people would dislike this, but at the same time, it's still a core gameplay mechanic. It's not something they can just take out. Jason being able to do slashes at you is a main part of the game. It isn't something that you'll go to it, say that you don't like it, and then just remove it. Jason's slashing is something that is core to the game, a core part of the game. Now, people who complain about this, I've seen it, in which they complain because they've had pocket knives, but then they've complained because they were unable to use the pocket knives, because Jason decided to slash at them. Or they've complained because Jason was too much of a slasher, he slasher killed everyone. And I think the big thing to look at here is that not everyone will play Jason the same. Some people will play Jason in a way that means they'll always grab someone to kill them. Some people play Jason in a way that they'll place traps in very strategic locations. Some people play Jason in a way which will mean that they just start hitting people until they die. With me, there have been times where one of my friends has played as a counselor and had 3 pocket knives, and rather than me going along and grabbing them 3 times, knowing full well that they're boasting about having so many pocket knives, and rather than risking the 5 to 10 second stun penalty, I just slash them down. it's quicker for Jason, and of course Jason's main priority is that he wants to be able to get through all the counsellors as quickly as possible, because of course the longer he leaves the counsellors, the more likely they are to be able to escape. So there's my take on that one. The next one is coming right up. So the final complaint I'll be talking about today is the complaint that this game, that Friday the 13th, is a worse game than Dead by Daylight. So what this complaint is about is people who have played Dead by Daylight or seen Dead by Daylight and start comparing the two games together because of similar core mechanics. Now I can understand this. If you're someone who, say, enjoys Call of Duty, you might think that Battlefield is a worse game because it doesn't play the same. Or vice versa, you might be someone who plays a lot of Battlefield but you don't like Call of Duty because of how differently it plays. You know what I mean? So when you start doing these comparisons, saying that Friday the 13th is worse than Dead by Daylight, you've got to consider the different mechanics that are involved. And here are some of them. One is the killers. So in Friday the 13th, you have multiple killers, well not multiple killers, but you have multiple variations of the same killer. In this case it's Jason Voorhees, Mr. Voorhees as we like to call him. And this variation of killers gives you multiple ways to play Jason. So part 4 Jason, for example, is much more suited to being able to rush counsellors. He can break down the doors quickly and he can slice down counsellors quickly with his slasher attack, but he's not as good as catching counsellors once they start escaping. That's what he's not good at. He's good at rushing the counsellors and killing them quickly, whereas say someone like part 8 Jason is much better at doing grab kills very quickly since he has low grip strength, but he's also good at going after counsellors that are in a boat. Each Jason is suited towards a different playstyle, I like to see. Like part 2 having more traps, meaning that you can place small traps around the place, or you can save your traps for if the police come and you can trap the road, or something along those lines. Whereas Dead by Daylight has killers that give you a wider variety of ways to play. The Trapper lets you place down different well not different traps, but allows you to place down traps in specific locations, such as through passageways in which there's a wooden pallet, or near a counselor, near a survivor who is on a hook, or say the I believe it's the nurse who is able to blink and teleport closer to the survivors in order to catch them more quickly, or Michael Myers, who is someone who has the stalk ability, so that if he reaches stalk level 3, he's able to get survivors down in one hit rather than the normal 2. And these two, whilst they are similar, they are still different from each other, and they still have their own separate core mechanics. Other variations of this is their speeds. Jason is much slower than the counsellors. The counsellors will always be able to outrun him when they have the stamina. However, Jason has got unlimited stamina. He's able to walk or jog after the counsellors as fast as he wants. Well, not as fast as he wants, but he's able to go after them for as long as he wants, whereas a counsellor won't be able to win in a race against Jason, unless they're trying to get somewhere where they know they have the stamina to get to. And this is why Jason is given the ability to teleport and to use shift, because he's slower than the counsellors. So in essence, in Friday the 13th, Jason has much more of an advantage. He has the upper hand against the counsellors, which is how the game was designed. The game was designed to have Jason have the upper hand against the counsellors, because they want Jason to feel like how he was in the movies, an unstoppable killing machine. Whereas in Dead by Daylight, the killers in Dead by Daylight are, I do think that the killers in Dead by Daylight are at a bit more of a disadvantage, since the survivors seem to have a much more easier time of escaping. Some of these ways include that in order to be killed, a survivor can't just be hit to death or slapped to death. In order to be killed, a survivor has to either be placed on a hook be placed on a hook 3 times for an immediate kill, be placed on a hook and left there to die without any survivors saving them, be left on the ground after they've been hit and having their health bar run out will cause them to die. What else is there? There's also having a Mori be used on you will also kill you. But those are the main ways that the killer can kill a survivor, and I'm pretty sure they're the only ways the killer can kill a survivor. Whereas in Friday the 13th, Jason's able to do a grab kill, which is an instant kill, or he can slash them with his weapon, he can kill them with throwing knives, or he can kill them with traps. And these are multiple ways where the games really spread apart. Friday the 13th, Jason has much more of an advantage in the way of killing people. Dead by Daylight, the killer has a disadvantage. And the fact as well is that in Dead by Daylight, the killer is faster than the survivor. But the survivor also runs very fast, like they are speed demons, I swear. So a survivor can be running, but the killer will always manage to catch up. But the thing is that the survivors are able to pull down pallets or go through windows or juke around to be able to lose the track of the killer. And I believe that this kind of gives the survivors a bit more of an advantage, and the fact as well that the survivors are able to be hit twice before they go down. So yes, they go down quicker than in Friday the 13th, but at the same time, when you get hit once, you can heal yourself through the use of a skill, or through the use of one of your friends, or when when one of the killers has hit you and you're limping, you'll also be running at the same speed as you were when you were just uninjured. So from these things, it makes me see it as the killer in Dead by Daylight has a higher disadvantage than Jason does. And it's just a few of the differences. There are other differences to escaping, in that counsellors in Friday the 13th have to fix a car or call the police or kill Jason or start a boat in order to win. Whereas Dead by Daylight, you have one way to escape, and that's your only way to escape, which is fixing the generators and opening the door. Or you can escape through a hatch, and if you're one of those people who manages to have a hatch key, then you can open the hatch early and escape that way. And with that, I believe I'm doing a sum up now of what I've done today in the video. So, to sum up really with the complaints, Savini Jason is exclusive, and people shouldn't complain about not being able to get him because he's exclusive. He's not meant to belong to you. Jason overpowered, one of those things that people talk about, and they talk about because they don't understand the game, or they aren't used to how the game works, if you understand what I'm saying there. Jason being impossible to juke, again, is one of those complaints that people say because they're angry that they weren't able to play the game how they wanted to play it, or they weren't able to play the game how they believed it would be able to be played. Fixing the game and the servers, yes, there are some problems with the game and there are some problems with the servers, but a lot of them have already been ironed out, and they are continuing to iron out these glitches, these bugs, and these server issues as best they can. Slasher Jasons, this is a minor complaint that people have, in which Jason just keeps slashing at them and he manages to kill them, which is, you know, it's a complaint for a minority. Some people are completely fine with Jason slashing them to kill them because it's a way that the game can be played, whereas other people don't like it because they expect Jason to grab them, just like how in Dead by Daylight people expect the killer to not camp the hooks, because otherwise they think it's some douchebag killer. And with that as well, Dead by Daylight is one of those things that people will compare Friday the 13th to, and it's one of those things that you have to remember that they're both different games, just with the same core mechanic. And with that, I do bid you a farewell. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike and leave me a constructive comment as to how I can improve my videos. And with that, I will see you all later.